Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Those that are on the East Coast, my name is Candace Newman. I'm the CEO and founder of Live Out Live. Today, I am going to be moderating the amazing panel today that we have on the topic of marketing, ticketing, box office, venue, and merchandise. A little bit about Live Out Live, just in case you guys aren't familiar with. Live Out Live is inspired by my career and journey as a woman in the live music industry. As a Black woman in particular in the live music industry, I was one of very few booking and promoting concerts and tours on a global level. And I looked around and there just was not enough representation for me. So I thought I'd create an opportunity in a space to provide representation and access and opportunity for more diverse people in the music industry, particularly who are interested in the live music industry. Part of that is education and programming, and we're honored to be able to partner with the Grammy Museum every year in order to provide live music concert touring programming for you guys. So today we have an amazing panel of professionals in the live music industry. Some have been in the industry for in a long period of time. Some are just kicking their journey off, but it's always exciting to hear from everyone's different backgrounds and journeys and the different pipelines that we have to access the live music industry. Again, my career now through Live Out Live is inspired by my journey, which I'm sure is absolutely different than any of the other panelists who's going to be sharing their background today. So I'm excited to hear from them. Let's kick it off. We're going to be dropping some information in the chat, including a link for an after event survey. So please click on that before we click out so that you have an opportunity to give your feedback about this type of programming. And we know what to provide for you as we continue to build out this platform. So we are going to kick off by introducing our amazing panelists. And I love to start with Marita.
Hi, how are you? My name is Marita Taglialatela. I've worked in the music industry, the live music industry for over 20 years, which is crazy to say. Much like Candace, being a woman in the industry has been interesting, but great and fulfilling. Currently, I am the senior manager of venue operations here at the Fillmore in Philadelphia.
Thank you. Let's hear from Nicole.
Hey everyone, my name is Nicole Schoen Visconti. I have been in the industry for about 10 or 11 years, on and off on the live promoter side, then went to management and social media, and now I'm back and live on the agency side. I am a executive in music marketing, a United Talent agency. I've been here about 6 years, and I am based in New York.
Thank you. I would love to hear from Nikki.
Hey everybody, I am Nikki Jett-El. I'm a Philadelphia native and I've worked in the live music industry in ticketing and box office for about 8 years. I recently pivoted out to do hospitality management at Sonder, which is a hybrid technology hospitality company. I'm so excited to share the journey, as Ms. Candace stated, that is very unique and very different for everyone. Excited to be here.
Thank you, Nikki. Tiffani, if you would introduce yourself, that would be great. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I am an integrated marketing manager with AEG Presents. I've kind of just started to get a feel in the music industry, but internships on internships on internships in booking, label, and now promoting side. So kind of seen every aspect, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. And last but not least, Christopher.
Hi everyone, my name is Christopher Genco. I've been working in music for just about 8 years now. Started off doing concert programming on the classical music side, but have been on the label side for the past few years doing marketing, and more recently have transitioned into the queer space for recorded music, working with artists like Melissa Etheridge, Rufus Wainwright, and now Betty Who. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. I love the representation and the diversity that we have here on this panel. Thank you guys so much for being available. I also just want to encourage, if you are an audience member, if you don't mind turning on your cameras, just so that we can see your faces and we can engage with you in a more meaningful way, that would be amazing. So thank you so much. So let's kick things off. I would love to hear a little bit more about your journey. Tiffani, I know you mentioned that your journey is still kind of underway and kicking off, but you've touched on a lot of different spaces within live music, including now on the promoter side. Can you tell us a little bit about what got you here? I know you mentioned internships. I would love to hear a little bit more of what type of internships that you've been a part of, and what prompted your interest into the live music space and the promoter side in particular.
Yeah, so it's about sophomore year of high school. I went to grading camp in LA for 2 weeks, and it was an amazing experience. I went on the music business track, and essentially we put on a show at the El Rey Theater, actually, to showcase all of the talents that we had at the camp. I met a lot of people, networked a lot. Networking is big in this industry and big in any industry. And then I went back the following year to shadow and also do an internship at the Recording Academy, Staples, and then an entertainment agency. And then once I graduated from high school, I went to college, obviously on a music business track. I wanted to go into booking originally, and interned for a smaller booking agency and then WME. And then I kind of moved from WME to label and from label to promoting. So internships are super important, and I feel have gotten me to where I am now. Because the industry is huge, but also very small at the same time. So you never know who can know somebody that might be your next step in your career.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. So a key word she mentioned was network and relationships. This industry is big on that. And I know Marita, who has had a long term career within the live music industry. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that network has led you to have longevity in this space, and a little bit more about your journey that led to you creating that foundational network that has led to other opportunities beyond just, your early years, how you've had longevity and a staying factor in the music industry?
For sure. So, I mean, just the best example is currently the job I work in, the job I reside in, kind of came to me in a way through networking and having local contacts. I was touring for quite a few years. And when I was touring, that's how I met the GM of the venue I now work in. So it was something where it was just a world come full circle, and my name kind of stood for itself when I came back and interviewed for this job after the pandemic. But overall, I have worked in VIP and touring. I have run concerts at Disney World. I worked for Hard Rock Cafe overseas. I kind of just had my hand everywhere. But for most of my career, I've worked for Live Nation in one way or another. Touring, I was freelance, but I worked on the VIP side of things. So that's where I managed to meet so many venue folk and maintain those good relationships, and now myself be a venue folk. One of the things I can say, I think networking is so important, and I feel like everyone on this panel can agree. Something I find really key in this industry is having this key ability to just understand what it takes to get the job done. Not a lot of "that's not my job" or anything like that. It's just doing what you have to do. And I'm a big pusher on that. I will be out there, putting barricade out or helping the merch sellers or doing things I have to do, even though I'm running the venue and on the operation side. So I'm a big fan of doing what you have to do. I think internships are fantastic. They get you, obviously, Tiffani is a great example. It gets you where you have to go. And I think just not being above anything and being willing to just roll up your sleeves and do what you have to do to get it done.
I love that. To sum that up, your work is a reflection of you, right? There's a sense of ownership that you have when you put your services and your work out there, and there's reciprocation when it comes to that, because then you're rewarded with other opportunities and people see the hard work that you're putting in. So most definitely not turning out any opportunities, being willing to take initiative and being proactive and saying, hey, I know I have a skill in that, I can do it, even if it's beyond your job scope. I love that you included that information, because I'm a big proponent and supporter of ownership over our work, and having a sense of pride over what you're putting out there. So it's a great point you made.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I want to hear a little bit more about your journey, Nicole, on the agency side and how you came to be in the live space from there.
It's very similar in terms of networking. So when I first started out, I kind of fell into working for an independent promoter in Poughkeepsie at the Chance Theater. Didn't really know I wanted to be in music. I took a year off from college just to kind of figure out my life, and quickly learned that I love the live side of everything, booking national and local talent. I was also box office. I was also marketing, production management, bartender, all of that. So just really doing, what it took to get shows happening and have them rolling and, everything go according to plan. But a lot of the agents that I worked with all worked at the agency group, which was acquired by UTA. So I work with some agents that I was buying shows from 10 years ago and not talking to them for, 4 or 5 years. I thought, oh, they're not going to remember me. And to the point of networking being so important, they're like, oh yeah, I remember you from Poughkeepsie. You were so on top of everything. Like, you should come look at this opportunity here. And now I'm here. But after being at a promoter, I kind of was trying to figure out what part of the industry did I want to be in. I tried management, as I mentioned, social media management, digital marketing, and a lot of it was just me creating the opportunities for myself. And I think that's an important lesson too for students. If the opportunity isn't obviously there, you could always try and make that opportunity, something that's actually coming to life. I taught myself how to manage. I taught myself social media marketing. It led me to a bunch of internships. I interned at Q Prime Management, which led me to UTA, in addition to the networking from being a promoter. But that kind of like DIY mentality I bring into my job every day. I think with marketing, especially, you just have to be able to pivot when needed. And after the pandemic and the amount of tours out there, just being able to do whatever you can in a way that makes sense with your budgets, with the artists you're working with the promoters. And, someone like Tiffani, I would work with super closely on these shows and be like, okay, what's the best strategy for your market? And on my side, what's the best strategy for this client? So all of it kind of came together of just the love of live, the love of marketing, and really the DIY component to it.
Amazing. Some things that stood out to me was just being able to do any type of job in the space, right? And that shows that your skills are transferable, right? So you're able to transfer your talents and skills from one area into another, which led you to the area that you ultimately are in now. And so super important to take on any opportunities. I know for me personally, I worked in events. I worked as a vendor. I worked on and many sides of, I worked with wedding planners. And then eventually I worked on large scale global tours. So I was willing to take on any type of task that will lead me to this bigger, better endeavor. So I love that you mentioned all of the different roles you took, including bartending, including anything that it took in order for you to hone in on all the skills and necessary tools and resources so that you can actually do your job at a maximum level, right? You're well versed in so many areas, so you know how to really capitalize on any ancillary opportunities outside of the basic responsibilities of the role. So I'm so glad that you mentioned all of the roles that you took on, because all of those skills are transferable into wherever you want to be. So thank you for sharing that. Nikki, I want to hear a little bit more about you and how you transitioned from your long-term ticketing box office position into now hospitality. So can you tell us a little bit more about your journey and how you end up where you are now?
Sure. So I was a student at Syracuse, and through an internship, had the opportunity to intern at Live Nation Philadelphia. I see some fam in there. Hey, guys. And just like everyone said, I took the opportunities to extend myself, to learn new things and be a help and assistance where I could be. And it really allowed me to get new skills and meet different people and network. And through that, I started working the PSS, or premium seating, VIP sales. So I was doing that days of show, and I was working in the office, and then that transitioned to box office when the season was over. So in box office, getting to work with people like Nicole or my ops team and really kind of getting the lexicon of venue life understanding box office and ticketing and how that translates to operations and premium sales and all of those things. And a lot of box office becomes venue management at a certain point because you're in the building day in and day out, sometimes when the day of show staff isn't there. So learning where the utility closet is, or taking the deliveries, or knowing what scheduled maintenance needs to happen. I learned and picked up a little bit of just venue management and all of those skills. And my mother actually is a property manager. So I got to couple all of that. And as I was looking kind of through the pandemic and where I wanted to end up, I said, maybe it's time for a change. So in looking, I was interested in bringing the hospitality nature we get, being the first line of defense at the box office, and meeting guests and talking to people who are, purchasing tickets or calling in on the phone, wanting to keep that guest facing aspect of it, but taking the transferable skills that I had learned being in the building and making sure it was running properly and assisting guests. And I took that and I turned it. We hear about like Live Nation and ASM Global, all these inklings that, hey, they may be moving into the hotel space or the marketing space or the retail space or the real estate space, and wanting to kind of set myself apart a little bit. I took a little bit of a leap of faith and went after the opportunity to kind of merge those things, to use those skills in a different way, but also learn some new skills to put myself apart a little bit if some of those things that we hear about come to fruition.
Sorry, I was on mute. Wow, that's an incredible journey, incredible story. Just I can hear the passion and how you applied yourself. I know a little bit about you and your background, and I know that you really worked hard to grow in the box office ticketing space that you were in, and really did some great, incredible things over there at Live Nation, which now you are doing incredible things over at Sonder. So glad to have you here and glad to hear about your journey. I want to ask Chris a little bit more about your journey. I know that you have some live music background and label background. So can you tell us a little bit about that and how they intersect even?
Totally, yeah. I've had a wild journey, but I think that the live music side and the recorded music side are so intertwined and so necessary. Each component is necessary for the other. So I think it's really valuable to learn as much as you can about both components. I started with S-Curve Records years ago on the recorded side, but then as the label grew, there was a need for a tour marketing person. So I kind of just raised my hand and said, I'd love to do that. I'd love to learn about that. And that's where we, started getting our marketing plans to integrate radio tours while on tour, on the ground local press when our bands are in market. So, what I learned was using the tour routing to our advantage for marketing the record. The recorded music side tends to have very small budgets these days because the records aren't what are necessarily making the money. The live shows are much more profitable than records these days. So we kind of tried to use the tours to our advantage. And when we had artists in market, we would have them visit every radio station they could and every local, press outlet that they could. And we would have them on the ground texting their fans saying, come to this corner and find a clue and then go over here and you might be able to win tickets. And then we'd have donuts where they could interact with the artists, and then there's social media buzz. So it's all about finding ways to integrate the live side with the recorded side for what I have done in my career. But they really do feed off of each other. It's all about finding the fans that are engaged with your artist and who want to, interact with that artist and giving them access to the act, the person, the music. So yeah, they're much more intertwined than I think people usually give credit for.
Yes, same goal, connecting the fan with the artist, connecting the artist with the fan, same goal, right? In the live space, you're doing it in a intimate, in real life way. And obviously the recording space, it's the long-term game. It's a song that can live on forever and ever, right? And so there's opportunities around building that out. So thank you so much for sharing that. So thanks so much for your introductions and sharing a little bit more about your journeys. I want to just dive into a few practical questions about some information that I would love for the audience to kind of understand. A lot of these people are just now being introduced to some of these topics, including venues and marketing and merch and how it all works together. So I wanted to ask just a very simple question, Marita, if you can help explain, what are the different type of venue types that you can book a live show in?
So the Fillmore, for example, let's just start there. So the Fillmore in Philadelphia is a unique venue in that there's actually two venues inside the venue. We have a main hall that has a high cap, like I'd say 2,500-ish. And then we have a small room above that, that's 500, a cap of 500. So you can do clubs and theaters of that level. You can do seated theaters. We have one in Philadelphia called the Met, seats about 3,000. You're looking at amphitheaters, outdoors. They can also be indoors during the winter. They can close off the amp itself and just use that as an indoor pavilion. And then we have arenas, which serve as your indoor tour go-to for the winter, and then stadiums, which are generally your summer hit.
Awesome, thank you. And obviously they all range in size, general admission versus seating, and different ticketing pricing. And so I want to pivot to Nikki and find out a little bit more about the ticket pricing. Can you kind of tell us more about scaling and the ticket pricing and how that all kind of incorporates and works in the venue?
Sure. So once that tour in the arena or the club gets booked, the booker will send over to the box office management team, either what they call it the confirmation sheet, the deal sheet. It has a couple different names, but it's kind of like your Bible for the event. So it'll give you the details, the date, the location, the pricing that they want the tickets to be, the amount of seats or general admission bodies they want in the room, and all of those things, whether you're doing meet and greets, VIP, and all of that will be laid out for you. So you might have, the Foundry was my room, so very near and dear to my heart, 500 cap. I might do, we used to do Questlove, so I might do 100 tickets at $5, 150 at $10, and so on and so forth till you reach that cap. So it will be my job then to use whatever our ticketing system is for Live Nation. They use Ticketmaster One now, and in that program, I would go kind of set it up. And it's like having all of your eggs in a basket and then taking some eggs and putting them in the $10 hold basket, taking some eggs and putting them in the $5 hold basket. So when you go through things like your pre-sales and your on sales, you have inventory set, ready to go. So as soon as I hit that button and I say on April 12th at 1 p.m., I want to start selling Questlove tickets, all of my ticket prices are set, all of the inventories in the right place so that the fans can then buy tickets at their varying price range until the next price point. But also you get the opportunity to watch those numbers come through, watch the data come through, and make, opportunities and chances on the fly. Jillian was one of my marketing managers, and we had a great relationship. And I could say, hey, Jillian, these tickets are going faster than we expected. Let's try to bump up the price. Or, hey, these are a little slower than we thought. Let's bump down the price. Or, hey, can we add a premium seat or a premium upgrade like a fast lane to get someone in the door faster? So it's all about knowing your room, knowing the crowd and the artist and what their team likes and is looking for, and manipulating the data and working with it to make the best end for everyone.
Thank you. That was perfectly put. And so I have a follow-up question, but I think I want to have Nicole take this one on, and then maybe Nikki, if you have some insight on this, you can also share a little bit more. So the question is, how does the on-sale and ticket hold process works? How does it work?
I mean, for the on-sale, and that this also ties in with the announce, it's really all about who the artist is, the size rooms are playing, what the artist has going on, when the shows are. There's a lot of different components. And, for me personally, once I receive a routing from an agent, I look at it and say, okay, what's the timeline of this tour? So for example, is it in the fall? It's like, okay, we have some time. When do we want to put it up on sale? What is the artist doing in the next few weeks? What other events are happening, or holidays or anything? For us, we're trying to announce anything for the fall before Memorial Day, once people get into kind of like the summer mindset. We also have Coachella that we're dealing with this and next week. So a lot of our tours push back to avoid that traffic. And then from there, how do you launch it and how do you go on sale? And this might tie into the actual marketing question, but for the on sale piece, I mean, again, you just look at all those different components. I would work with someone like Nikki and also like Tiffani to say, okay, here is our plan. And here's everything that we need to build out, pre-sales, ticket holds, all of that. And making sure that that is all set once we announce. And then once we're on sale, making sure all the available inventory is out there to sell to fans. And like Nikki said, keeping an eye on those sales and seeing if we need to pivot, releasing more tickets or calling the show sold out or putting out a low ticket warning or anything like that. And then for the holds, I mean, on my end, it's really just connecting with our agents, our managers, our labels, any other sponsors or partners that might need tickets to be held for purchase later on. And also with that too, holding back inventory for certain pre-sale partners. That could be Amex, Citi, Spotify, Consequence of Sound, any other kind of partners that we would offer a pre-sale to, and making sure they have the inventory so that their fans or their subscribers are getting that access.
That's awesome. And then Nikki, and if those holds are in place, and what happens with them eventually as you're getting closer to the show? They're released, or like what happens? Are they given to other people? Can you share a little bit more about what happens with these holds as you're approaching the show?
Sure. So for certain holds, like Nicole spoke of, we have Amex or Citi, there may be a timeline. So in that confirmation sheet or packet we get, it will say, hey, if you haven't sold 50% by the third week before the show, you'll need to check in with us to see if someone wants to buy it. If so, great, we'll take the sale. And then if not, you can start to release it. Sometimes we might release in increments, sometimes we might release it fully, or sometimes somebody might double back and have spoken with Nicole or Tiffani and said, hey, I'm looking for a couple extra tickets, and we can make sure that those purchases are able to be fulfilled. So it's like a waiting game. I'm holding the tickets close because we love them, but we want the fans to have them. And then we can see what basket of fans or what group of people needs to be serviced. And then we will, by 2 weeks usually before the show is out, we want to make sure that all those holds are clear and all the purchases are made so that we continue to watch sales honestly come in if we can market our sold out, or to see if we can add something like a second or a third show to kind of keep that momentum going in that marketing machine going and building up anticipation.
Great. And you mentioned the marketing machine. So I want to go ahead and see if we can get some insight from Chris on what are some best practices for optimizing marketing strategies to increase your chances of a sold out show?
Oh gosh, tough question. So we also, in launching, we like to time it with a music release, as I'm looking for the recorded side of things. An example of this is I have an artist who has been away for 3 years now, has not released new music, hasn't done many major shows. They now have a tour booked for February, March, April of 2023. We have music being phased out through the summer. So now we're thinking, how do we tie this in to the on sale of the tour and make sure that we're converting all of those recorded music fans to ticket purchasers for the tour in 2023? So as we phase out our releases, we're gonna announce very early with our third release all the way in August. And so we're gonna announce the tour in August and then put the tour on sale in September with our album release, as people are consuming the music, as we're getting our biggest press hits in, our TV looks, our Q&As and magazine looks running. Those tickets are on sale already, so we can get those tickets purchased and we can get it filled up as soon as possible.
Amazing. So that's some amazing insight. So I want to back up a little bit and go to Tiffani, because the marketing strategy, I know that Nicole and Nikki, they mentioned that deal memo that includes all of the specifics surrounding the show. The marketing strategy essentially comes from the booker or the promoter, and essentially is created and by way of working directly with the artist and the agent and the manager on the vision for the tour. So how do you guys come up with a marketing strategy that is going to be executed by all of these other partners in when you're working directly with an artist on the onset of their tour?
Yeah, for sure. We, as marketing managers, will get our budget from the booker, the buyer. And what we want to do with that budget is tap into as many channels as we can that make sense for the artist. So let's say, for example, we have a huge TikTok artist because people are getting on TikTok a lot now, and a lot of music and a lot of artists are coming out of TikTok. So with that artist, demos are so key in general. But for the TikTok artists, you're going to want to tap into TikTok, obviously, and more digital side. You wouldn't want to go the radio or traditional route with snipes or flyers or anything like that. But tapping into all of the channels and making sure that there is even like convincing and eye capturing content that you're putting through the ads, so people can, you know, be excited about the music. We love to do videos when we run ads. Any static or like just pictures don't do as well usually, but it just really depends on the artist and how fast they'll sell out. But it warms your heart when you see a show sell out, and especially if it's a smaller artist, because you know you've done everything you can and you really worked hard to push that artist and convince people that may not be huge fans of the smaller artists, but the tickets kind of a little bit cheaper, and they like the genre, so they're gonna, you know, open their minds and say, okay, what, you know, I want to go to this show because it might be a new artist that I might like. And I think you're pushing those people that are kind of in the middle. They like the genre, but they don't really know the artist. So introducing that new, smaller artist to a different set of people to encourage them and persuade them to go to the show is really key in club and theater shows, which I have a lot of as well.
Thank you. So that prompted me. I wanted to ask, you mentioned some channels. So Marita, from your perspective, working in a venue, what are some channels that you guys tap into for your local marketing?
So we definitely hit the radio market heavy. We have a strong radio market here in Philadelphia. I think we're number 4 or 5 in the country. So we use that a lot. As well, we have a nice street team presence. And as far as marketing goes within the venue or for the venue, they just have a really good arm in the community is the best way I can. We have nice partnerships with sister venues and things like that to be able to have them co-market our shows. We have a venue right across the street that's a comedy club. And if we have a comedian in, we'll market the comedy shows coming up and things like that. So a lot of partnership, a little bit of that networking again goes a long way.
Awesome. Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. So I'm going to move on to another question because I'm considering time, and I think we might have some questions from the audience. So what are the benefits of selling merchandise at a show? And does selling merchandise benefit the artist's ticket sales in any way? Marita, if you can help us out with that.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, what are the benefits of selling merch at a show? And does that selling merch benefit the artist in any way?
Absolutely. We have been seeing some crazy merch sales over the past, I mean, I've been here 4 months. So over the past 4 months, we've been seeing a crazy increase in merch sales. You know, we'll have an artist that will play our small venue that, you know, it has a guarantee that is pretty small, and they will make $10,000 more than that, than their guarantee just on merch alone. The other thing to speak for is when you were asking me about marketing and how do we do that, and Tiffani was talking about having the clubs and theaters, and you know, it might not be an artist they know, but a genre they know. If your friend is wearing a shirt that's cool and you're like, what is that? Who is that? You then check it out. You then go to the show. So the merch is like, it's something I can't push enough. Every time somebody is like, oh, we have this merch person reaching out to us, I'm like, let me get on it right away. I want them to be comfortable and happy in our venue, because if they're comfortable and happy, they're going to sell their heart out. They're going to benefit the artist. That benefits the venue. It benefits the guests. It's kind of everybody benefits from a good merch sale.
Awesome. I agree. Particularly if there's an artist that is heavy into fashion, we can get in front of opportunities to sell the merch, right? There are pre-show opportunities. I know that I've launched several tours where we've sold out the merch before the tour even kicked off, and we've done it online, you know, just as an opportunity. Travis Scott is someone who I know that has sold merch in the past, and a bunch of other artists that we've done their tour. There's merch sold out going into the show. And so it's been incredible to see what artists can do around fashion. Nicole, can you share a little bit more about some of those ideas that you guys work with your artists on to come up with ways to have ancillary income like merchandise and maybe VIP and or meet and greets, whatever type of ancillary income that you work directly with your artists in order to provide for an audience, in order to maximize sales for the show? That would be great.
Yeah, I mean, on my side, I've done a lot in the like VIP space with our clients of just introducing them to companies and even sometimes kind of brainstorming what those packages could look like. I think the first question to ask is it authentic for this artist to sell VIP packages? And VIP packages could be anything. It could be a meet and greet. It could be a sound check party. It could be something even more involved where like you're having a tea party with the artist. Like we've had clients do that before. Or if you're doing like a guided meditation or volunteer work, or it could be as simple as just straight up merchandise that's very exclusive to just those VIP holders. So I think that the first thing is to figure out, is this authentic to us? Then building out that package, finding the right partner to implement it. And look, there are some VIP companies, like for example, On Location's really great with very hands-on, like engaging partnerships. So finding that right partner. And then two, you know, and this goes along with the ticketing of what is the right price point for all of this. You don't want to price out your fans. You don't want to make it so expensive that true diehard fans can't afford it. We've seen that in the past. And, you know, for me, looking at the show, like I was always a fan of music and I love a good tour t-shirt. I love collecting vinyl and all those different things. So I think about, you know, what is the fan thinking about? What are they getting out of the experience? And then from there, you know, putting that into play with our whole announce and on sale strategy and what markets are we offering it and how exclusive it is or how open it is. And on the other side of that too, and I'm not the real expert in this, but for another ancillary avenue of just live streams, you know, that was definitely a big thing over the pandemic. I still think it's pretty important now. Like, I think there's still people that are hesitant to go out, be in big crowds, especially with COVID kind of coming in and out. I mean, especially here, for example, in New York, but still being able to have that live experience, being able to see the show and almost like you're there. And I think too, that can also just play into the marketing of a tour, an actual live stream, whether it's happening on the tour or you're using that to launch a tour. There's a lot of different ways to utilize that.
Absolutely. It's definitely a great option, ancillary option, especially if a venue is housed or, you know, furnished with the resources to live stream. It's definitely a good addition to a show if the artist is open to it. So yeah, we did a session last week and we talked about virtual shows and virtual sessions. And a few of the panelists gave their feedback about work with some artists and how things have been going with virtual shows. And I'm curious to know, since we are post-pandemic, I wanted to hear your feedback specifically on what's some of your artists' feedback about doing virtual shows. Are they excited about doing it, or they're just like, okay, I did it once, no more? Christopher, can you share a little bit more about your experience with this post-pandemic virtual show opportunity?
Sure. I also first wanted to piggyback off of Nicole and then reference the comment in the chat that personalization is so key, getting creative with what fits with the brand of the artist. We did something with our band AJR where they're just like a very silly band and their audience also likes to learn about the production of the music. So what we did was we paired the VIP experience with, you get in the room early, they show you how they mix and like produce their songs and the sounds they use and the techniques they use, and then after they break out and have a dodgeball game with the band. So it really is about personalization and, you know, making sure it's on brand with that artist, and that really excites the fans and gets people to pack the room and, you know, increase ticket prices. But now to speak about live streaming, yeah, I think that through the pandemic, fans were craving personal interaction and our artists were too. Andy Grammer is someone that goes on tours and just loves meeting fans and being face to face with fans. And they were so craving that face to face interaction as well. So what we did is we started linking our artists with this platform called Looped. I think a lot of artists have started using Looped. But it first started pre-pandemic with a way for artists to do like 60-second one-on-one video call meet and greets. Excuse me, my dog is running up the stairs right now. That was very loud. But it evolved into a way for artists to have VIP virtual events where they could make it very personal, face-to-face conversations with the artists. And you know, nothing replaces in-person interactions, but through the pandemic, we have had to learn alternate ways to get that very personal, very, you know, connected experience. So I think that not only have the fans been really craving it, but the artists as well. So it's been a great tool. And I think that it will continue past, you know, the quote unquote pandemic ending, when every artist is still out on the road. It's such a valuable tool.
I agree.
Can I
Marita,
jump in for a second?
absolutely. Would love to hear from you. Mhm.
So our venue is wired for live streaming. It's one of, I think, 8 in the country that Live Nation wired for that with Veeps. That said, we, you know, having moved past the just streaming component of things, we had Disco Biscuits in for the New Year's, and their shows were sold out, but they were streaming it as well. So it's also giving folks, like I know BTS is also doing that in Vegas currently. If you cannot make it into the show, there's an overflow watch and stream that you're available to buy into. I think that is where the stronghold is now. Like if you can't access the event or this really exclusive event, you can now watch it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Nikki, do you have any insight on your experience with post-pandemic virtual shows? Any success stories or any feedback about you know, the perspective from any artists that you've worked with?
Sure. I think for us, I was at the Fillmore Silver Spring before I pivoted out as we were in this post-pandemic world. And our building, that building down there is also wired for Veeps, but they did more content that was either charitable or for things like different festivals. So even the opportunity to maybe switch the way we look at festivals or multi-stack shows or multi-stack performances, where the artist may say, hey, I want to be in a controlled environment and I want to maybe stay a little bit safer than having that fan interaction, but still being able to put on high quality events that when you're watching it at home, I watched a few that our team did that only the production team was needed on site. It was just amazing to see, you know, how crisp and clean, and you can still get that buy-in and that feel. So even not necessarily participating in it from a revenue or an ancillary standpoint, it's still, you know, such a viable way to consume and produce events these days.
Absolutely. And content is everlasting. It's king and queen, right? So right now, I know a lot of artists are looking for opportunities to produce unique content and things that kind of could live on. So this is a great opportunity to do that. And own the rights and license to all of that. So it's just a really valuable resource as well. Nicole, would love to hear your feedback about your experience working with your artists and their feedback about the live streaming virtual world.
I mean, for my clients, I mean, live streaming was the thing over quarantine, and a few of them really found a niche in that space and a real fan base. For example, our one client, Mark Rabelais, which if you don't know who he is, check him out on YouTube because he is a very interesting artist. But what he did over the quarantine was he did weekly Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube live streams. And his whole premise is he just comes up with a beat and just creates a song on the spot. It's always improvised. He doesn't have anything pre-recorded. So it's always something different every live stream. And that really created a massive fan base for him. I mean, he had a subreddit with 20,000 fans in there, a Facebook group with almost 27,000 fans now. And before the pandemic, he did, you know, a few headline shows here and there, but the idea going into 2020, but obviously a push, was to get him into like the 1,000 to 3,000 to 5,000 capacity rooms. And he did a live stream at Brooklyn Steel last year. It was part of like a Bowery Twitch kind of thing. And we said, why not use that to launch his fall tour? Like, that's a captive audience, and those will be the people that would pay to see him in person. And I think we had about 25,000 people watching, and he just said, by the way, I'm going on tour. And the pre-sale was already live. The ticket link was in the chat multiple times. And that tour sold out within a week, about 70,000 tickets in the middle of a pandemic. So I think for the live streaming component, that's a really good content piece to launch tours, and especially with the amount of tours out right now and too many options for fans to choose from. That's the way to kind of break through all the traffic of everything else happening. Ad mats are great, videos are great, but what is the next step there? What else can you put together that people feel like, I can engage with this, and this is an experience I have to witness, like I can't hold off buying tickets for this.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. So we are going to move into doing some Q&A with the audience. So if anyone has any questions, please raise your hand or turn your video on, and we will look out for you for questions directly to our panelists. Okay, we have one question from Skylar O'Neill. Let's hear from you, Skylar.
Yeah, first off, this has been amazing just hearing all of this information. I had a couple of questions. I'll leave it to one right now and give other people time to answer. But I wanted to know, bundling has been a big thing in recent years. I'm wondering how that connects with what you guys do, like with the merchandise and ticketing. Like how does the bundling connect with like record sales and things like that? Is that something that you guys are involved with?
I'll kind of jump in here. Usually that will be a part of either the tour memo or the deal memo that Candace spoke about. And they'll say like, hey, we might want to do an album bundle, or we might want to do a merch bundle. So there are things that we've called, you know, you've heard us use the word ancillary. They're ancillary items. So then for me, I would have to build, so the show is usually one event. I might have to build 2 or 3 when I was at the Fillmore Silver Spring. I think we were up to like 6 ancillaries. So we have the opportunity to bundle all that together. We'll list online what's included in that package, and that will get its own set of inventory in those holds like we talked about. So whether it's one album, a lanyard, an early entry, usually at the end of your purchase experience. So when you go to whatever platform you purchase from, you get your show tickets, you'll add that to your cart. When you go to purchase, you'll see those drop downs or the platform or the icon for that, and you can see what's involved and you can add it to your cart at that time. So bundles are something that we spent a lot of time doing. And to Nicole's point, if you make one of those awesome moments and you say, hey, we're going to launch off of this feed or this whatever, you know, we can add those in at any time. You know, I spent many days building and reconciling those bundles. But again, it's a great way to increase your revenue, to get, you know, yourself out there in a different way, and to pick up some extra time with your fans, depending on what that process or what that product is.
And sometimes the product can be a ticket along with your album, so that adds and contributes to you have your fan base having a ticket to your show, but also it contributes to your streams as well. So you have the opportunity to link both of them together, and there are many other bundling opportunities, but that's just one example. Thanks so much, Nikki. We're going to move on to Brielle. You have a question for us?
Sorry, I was trying to unmute. Yes, hello. Thank you guys so much for your time today. Last week was super amazing. Yes, and then this week is awesome as well. I own an artist development company based here in Dallas, and my question for everyone is, we do a lot of shows. We put on shows for our artists free of charge, just for marketing, etc. I'm newer into the realm of booking and promoting, etc. And I try my best to, you know what I don't know and use other promoters, etc. But let's say that I am handling that hands-on with a venue. What is a bare minimum thing that I should be asking, especially if they're charging for ticketing from a venue and their promoter, if they're charging and taking a percentage of ticketing for promotion and marketing? Like, is it just email blasts? Like, I know that's kind of a layered question.
I mean, I would say on the marketing side of it, just seeing every single thing they can provide to you from the venue side. That could be email, that could be social posts, That could be, for some venues, they have actual like physical mailing lists. Mostly those are like PACs and the older crowd, but if they have a database of like 200,000 people, like, can you tap into that? And any other kind of partnerships they have in the area. But I think a lot of that you can also either start building on your own or going out and finding those partners yourself. That's what I did when I was an independent promoter. Kind of used the venues marketing team a bit, but it wasn't as robust. So we thought, okay, what else can we do? How do we hit local colleges? How do we create street teams? How do we work with tattoo shops, coffee shops, restaurants, anything like that? So I would definitely ask them for a breakdown of what they can provide. And then on top of that, what can you do in addition, so you have that, database for yourself?
Yes, an example of that is sometimes if I had a show coming up and there was a show similar that was just playing off, the venue may be able to highlight my upcoming show to that fan base that has attended that specific show, maybe offer them some type of incentive to attend my future shows. So working directly with the venue to understand what shows and events they have going and see how your show directly fits into that. So Nicole gave a lot of great insight, but that's just one example.
I wanted to hop in here, Brielle. First of all, I'm not from, but just moved to Dallas too. So we should definitely offline. But I'm kind of a special case because I do work for a promoting company, but I also work at a venue. So we have the venue marketing, and I do that as well as marketing for regional shows. And I think that with a venue, it's helpful to use their marketing team, especially their email lists. If they have built a very large email list over the years, and they are dedicated fans of that venue that will go to see a show just because it's at that venue and they love it so much. And that's really helpful with that, but they also can do digital, as I think Nicole stated. They can do digital as well. So that's just my experience in it, and it's definitely helped in different areas. Like I have a show in Oklahoma City right now, and I'm not too familiar with the city, so reaching out to the venue and asking them questions about where do you guys think would be best to put this or that, and they're super helpful in trying to sell the show, because both are benefiting in it. So that's what I would say.
And I just want to go off of that too, Tiffani, from my side, being more like on the national side, and you just mentioned it with OKC, really leading into the people that are experts. So like for me, I would lean into Tiffani for, Texas in general, if that's the market that she's covering, or someone that's in, like a C market that I've never been to, I don't know anything about, like that, partnered with what I know about the artist. Like you have to bring in all these different experts to be able to sell these shows, sell the artists in a way. But even to locally, like if there's someone that's really in the hip hop space that you want to co-promote with, you should meet those people, or someone that has more of a grasp on country or rock or anything like that. There are those people. I call them tastemakers in a sense, or like co-promoters, but there's probably a lot of them in Dallas, and it's just a matter of you meeting them and talking to them, and you'd be surprised how willing people are to help, especially in like your local market.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Brielle. Addie, you had a question?
Yes, I do. Thanks, everyone. Again, just piggybacking off of what the others have said. Thank you for taking your time to speak with us today. Have thoroughly enjoyed hearing from each of you. So kind of worked out that here, let me provide some context. So I just graduated from the University of Alabama last spring, more recent graduated with a degree in PR, still trying to get into the music industry. But I actually got an interview with a local venue to be an operations assistant this week. So just your best advice for an interview for a venue in that position.
My best advice, and I try to say this to everyone, I hate saying I'm 42 and I know you're in your 20s, but I was in my 20s too, so I get it. The biggest thing I can say is don't ever forget you are interviewing them as much as they are interviewing you. It is nerve-wracking and interviews are tough sometimes, but this is a job that you will probably spend more time at than you will spend at home. Make sure that it is a fit. Don't just take it to take it. It's not, you know, unless your life is about to depend on that money that's coming in the door, which is a whole other conversation. I say don't just take it, and feel confident. Be okay with, you know, asking the hard questions, or if they come back to you with a salary you don't feel is a good fit for you, you're allowed to negotiate or say no. I mean, it might not be something that feels great in the moment, but it is something you'll be remembered for in a decent way. Like, she stood up for herself, and that isn't something she was willing to settle for. So I get it. It's nerve-wracking, but if somebody is worth working for, they're going to listen to you and work with you.
And I'd also love to jump in here, even though it may not be the exact thing you're looking for, don't necessarily negate that opportunity. I never thought in a million years when I was at Syracuse falling in love with marketing, I would be working in the box office. But there are so many jobs that are so intersectional, learning and gaining knowledge. Like, you're not going to be in this job for the rest of your life. You know, if it's something that intrigues you and it's something you believe you can do, go for it. And if you feel, you know, so inclined, take the opportunity, because it'll probably yield you dividends beyond what you can initially see.
And just to piggyback off of Nikki as well, I was just there. I just, you know, not too long ago graduated from college, and I was taking any, you know, opportunity that came my way in the music industry. And that, you know, networking, you'll eventually get to what you are wanting to do. And along the way, along the journey, you've met a whole bunch of people that may put you in the right position and that you can reach out to help you, you know, in your journey. Or if you're at the job and you may need to ask them questions about something specific, they can help you then. So I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't say any opportunity, but I did a lot of things in college to get me to where I am now, that I didn't necessarily want to do, or, you know, that wasn't the most ideal, you know, job for me at the time or position spot for me, but it's benefited me in the long run.
Great advice. Thank you so much. I hope that helps you, Addie. Thank you. Okay, Michelle, you have a question for us?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy days to speak to us. Just like everyone said, I learned a lot within this session, so thank you. I have a particular question about like the marketing tactics for a tour announcement, because I did notice that some artists announce their tours sometimes like 5 months ahead of like their album release date, or their album release. So I don't know if this is like a marketing tactic now after COVID times, just because artists know fans want to see them, or like it's just up to each prospective artist based on what they want.
I can jump in here. I think a lot of that is dependent upon the particular artist's tentpoles. If they're appearing in a show, if they have a magazine running, if they have an appearance on a morning show, you want to capitalize on those moments with announcements. But in general, for us, it's getting the shows on sale as early as possible. But yeah, in terms of our marketing, it's around tentpoles for a particular artist. I don't know how everyone else feels at the particular venues.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same on the agency side. As Chris said, you're really looking at what the artist has coming up. Like we announced a tour last week for a client off the Grammys because she was nominated. So we used that moment to launch the tour. She also did a late night appearance the week before. So anything like that. And I mean, the album being 5 months away, like that could just be another tentpole, you know, especially if the tour happens after the fact, that could be a relaunch of your tour, and being able to kind of stretch the marketing budgets. Cause that's also a big thing too, of like, if you only have a few $1,000s in 5 months, how do you make that $5,000 last between the day you announce and the day the show happens? So yeah, it's all about the tentpoles for sure.
Thank you for that. Martell, you have a question for us? I think this will be the last question, and then we'll be wrapping up soon. So Martell, can you share your question?
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you for speaking with us today. Glad to be here. I guess my only question was, now with merch, are there any resources out there for bulk merch? And then I had another question. Do you guys think it's actually possible? I know we were talking about the live video streaming earlier. Do you guys think it's possible for independent artists to create a buzz from doing virtual shows only in this day and age?
I'm no merch magician, but there are different resources out there where you can, check for merch and see if you can get, bulk pricing. So I would definitely look into local distributors or things of that nature to see, where you can get the best bang for your buck. But personally, I do think there's a way for you to capture attention. Content is king. We are seeing things pick up and take off at the speed of again, as long as I think it's authentic, as long as it's catchy, and as long as you have something to follow up with it. People's attention spans now, we are bombarded and inundated with imagery. So you have to really focus on things that will keep our attention and making sure you're following up so you stay on people's minds and you stay in people's mouths. So I think it's totally possible. I think you just have to think about what you want to do, and a little bit of it is work, and I think a little bit of it is magic, but best of luck to you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for your question, Martell. So thank you guys so much for being here. Before we close out, I want to thank the Grammy Museum. Definitely want to thank the panelists, Marita, Nicole, Nikki, Tiffani, and Chris, who had to jump, but a bunch of them have dropped their information in the chat. So students, please connect with them. These are your future mentors. These are people who have given their time today and provided some insight and resources to you. So please reach out to them and thank them directly. And also in the chat, there is a post-event survey. Click on that before we click out of here, and please give us your feedback on what you thought about this panel, and sign up for next week's panel. We have another panel on sound and lighting and production next week. And I look forward to seeing you guys all here. Follow us on @liveoutlive_LA or subscribe to our community at www.liveoutlive.com. Look forward to seeing you guys here again next Tuesday. And thank you everyone for your time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks all.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you. Thanks, Candace.
No problem. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Candace.
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you. Bye. Thanks, Skylar.
Yeah, awesome job. This was amazing.
Awesome. See you next week.
All right, see you.
Bye.